everybody, what is up? Derek here from Bomb Socks with another episode of Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ and we do it one bite at a time. For section 97, we're going to spend a couple days on section 97 today and tomorrow. There's in the Come Follow Me, one of the things it brings up is Zion. Okay, Zion is something right now in church history, meaning back in the 1830s, 1833 to be specific, is something that has been on the saints' mind quite a bit. It's something, in fact, you go all the way back. There were religions that were trying to really grasp this concept of Zion. And so Zion, in the Come Follow Me manual, it says Zion is the pure in heart. The prophet Joseph Smith taught we ought to have the building of Zion as our greatest object. To the saints in 1830s, Zion was a place, the literal city of our God. That was Jackson County, Missouri. But in the Revelation recorded in section 97, the Lord expanded that view. Zion also describes a people, the pure in heart. As you read, and this is what I'd like you to do, verses 18 to 28, it's 10 verses, think about this definition when you read the word Zion. What does it mean to you to be pure in heart? How does the temple help accomplish the salvation of Zion? So why don't you take just a couple minutes and go through those verses, those section 97, verses 18 to 28, and look and see what you learn about Zion. And not necessarily just the physical place, but just the whole concept of Zion. So take a couple minutes, and we'll come right back. Okay, so you saw a lot in there in those verses. That verse 21 where the Lord does say, "Therefore, verily, thus saith the Lord, let Zion rejoice, for this is Zion, the pure in heart." That is the definition of Zion. "Therefore, let Zion rejoice, while all the wicked shall mourn." That's kind of an interesting combination there. Well, it's interesting because you go through here and you're reading these things, and it uses words like vengeance, scourge, indignation, all the things that are going on there. While all of the craziness is going on in the world, Zion is going to be able to escape this. So one of the phrases I came across, and I'd never seen this before, this is interesting, is verse 18. "Now, behold, if Zion do these things," and we'll talk about these things tomorrow as far as that, "she shall prosper and spread herself and become very glorious, very great, and very terrible." Okay, I looked at that and I thought, oh, Zion is going to be terrible. So when you think of terrible, very terrible, you think of, oh, I've got this terrible pain in my back. My grades are terrible. That was a terrible movie. That food, terrible. So when Zion is going to be not only very glorious, very great, and very terrible, I often wonder what that means. And so when I see words, I look them up, because terrible sounds like it just means horrible, right? And I don't believe that's what the Lord is trying to say. Zion's going to be horrible. I don't believe that. So I wanted to look it up. And so I started playing with this. I started looking through it. And I found a Hebrew blog, which, when's the last time you've read a Hebrew blog, right? And it actually talked about the word terrible, the roots, the etymology of the word terrible in Hebrew. Check this out. So it says there's a word yara, which I don't know a lot of Hebrew, but it is rendered as terrible when you see that in the King James Version of the Bible. It's the same word which is usually rendered as fear. You can say it means fearful or terrible, but in the sense that a husband who really loves his wife will not cheat on her, not because he fears her wrath, but because he fears he could not live with himself if he hurt her in any way. I do not like the rendering of yara as fear or terrible, because fear suggests one's concern for one's own gizzard. I think that's kind of funny. Yara could really be another word for love. This is love built on concern for someone else's gizzard rather than your own. It is interesting that this word in this verse is in a nifl form. That's a Hebrew grammar phrase. This could be easily rendered as a great and the love of my life, God. That's cool. Another word that's used in this verse, and again, it's talking about terrible in the Bible, for love is the word chasad, I think. Don't trust my Hebrew, but take it for what it's worth. This is a God who keeps his promises and has mercy, chasad, on those that love him and keep his commandments. The word for mercy is chasad, and it is also the word for kindness. It is also the word for a stork. Go figure. I saw a movie the other day about a stork. Again, this is a Hebrew gentleman writing this blog. Well, it was a children's animated movie, but it didn't show clearly the legend of the stork delivering babies, which is rooted in the ancient belief that among all the animals, the stork is the most loving to its young. It is believed that if a chick dies, the stork will resurrect it with her own blood. If it does not have enough food, the stork will feed the chick with her own blood. The stork has been known to raise and care for chicks that are not even her own, even of another species. Thus, this chesed is more than mere kindness. It is a loving kindness extended to all mankind, reflecting a Messiah who will shed his own blood to save his children. And then this person goes in and talks a little bit about Hunger Games. I normally don't talk about Hunger Games in my Bomb Bites, but I thought this was unique. It said, since we're talking movies, how about that big hit over the last few years, the Hunger Games? Remember how Katniss had an encounter with the president of Panem. She hated the guy, but showed him kindness in the interview because she had to, but certainly not out of love. However, in the story, she also showed kindness to Peeta, who fought with her in the Hunger Games. In fact, in the second book, when she and Peeta are again forced to play in the Hunger Games, she seeks to show him the greatest kindness of all, and that is to die protecting his life. That kindness is a perfect example of this chesed, a loving kindness. And remember how Peeta turned against her and tried to kill her. That is a perfect example of what we do with God's chesed, or his mercy. It is a kindness built on such love that you forget about your own welfare for the sake of others. Which is interesting because when you really look at the word Zion, it is, they were of one heart and one mind. They dwelt in righteousness. There was no poor among them. So this whole idea of Zion being very terrible, I want you to look at that. Is this these two Hebrew words, this yara and the chesed, which is very much that loving, unselfish kindness. And it's something that is to be awed and admired. And so that's just a little thought with regards to Zion, how it's gonna, like going back to that verse, it's gonna be very glorious, very great, and very loving, merciful, and kind, and unselfish. Anyway, that's just a little take on that. You can take that for what it's worth, but I just wanted to understand what that idea of terrible means, because if it's going to be terrible, I want to understand that. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys out. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing, and thanks for sharing. Please go check out our amazing socks at bombsocks.com. You'll love them. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Godspeed. Bye-bye.